Hi everyone. This is Sai from Let's Upgrade. So let's talk about how to get your certificate. It's very simple. You will see two links in the description. Number one is the place where you have to go and mark your attendance. Marking your attendance tells us like, okay, you are a legit student who have attended this particular session. Link number two is your assignment. This is where your 90% of the priority is. You have to go and submit the assignment that is given to you in this particular session. Once you're done submitting that assignment, we will be evaluating that. We will send you an email. If you get the passing criteria, then only we will give you the certificate on a particular date that is mentioned again in the description. Please check these three things, and this is the way how you will get a certificate from Let's Upgrade. Number one, mark your attendance. Number two, just go ahead and upload your assignment. Check for the email that you have received it, yes or no. What is the feedback that you have received from your trainer? Number three, check on which date the certificates will be released. Thank you. Bye. All the best. Happy learning.
All right, guys. Hello, everyone. So, we are again back with the next session. In this session, we are planning to complete a couple of very important topics, as according to me. That is, most important topics of our entire logic building, problem solving sessions. Our agenda as of today would be completing logics and loops. So, that will be the main topic of our class as of today. Let me just write that down just to make it super clear. Logic and loops. So that's what we are completing as of now in this session. Well, it also have a couple of subparts. What we will do is we will just get started with conditional statements. What are conditional statements? Well, conditional statements are simply those statements which put a condition on executing a statement. I have simply the name itself is actually seems self-explanatory, but still I'm repeating it one more time. The conditions, which these are those statements which put some condition on executing something. Once we get to it, once we get in details of it, you will get a good hang of it. But don't worry about it. We'll just get to that in a couple of minutes. Second thing that we are covering as of today's session would be another important part, loops. Well, it is another very important and very basic part actually. There is nothing hard or advanced about it in this topics. Okay. Then we have the most famous and most widely used data structure of entire industry, which is called as arrays. That is the most famous and the very first data structure that anyone would ever learn. And finally, one another important part of our entire course is working of strings. I will give you a brief introduction about strings as well, basics of strings as well, and then working of it as well. What kind of operations you can apply on strings, how you can manipulate strings, how exactly string works behind the scene. That I will also give you a small brief as well. So that will also be covered very thoroughly. So these are going to be four main topics of our today's session. And at the very end, we will just make sure to add a small activity. You can say a simple question would be there in which we are going to try to apply some of our knowledge that we're going to collect here in that activity, which at the very end will make sure to cover all of it. Let me just expand it properly. Very nice. We can just get started from the next page of our first topic, regarding our first topic, which is going to be conditional statements. So now, regarding conditional statements, you might have already heard about it. There are a very limited number of conditional statements that we have. Some of them are very famous. The very first example would be if statement, as it is very clear from the name itself, as simple as that. Well, along with these names, I will make sure to write down the syntax of each one of it as well. I will just make sure to write down the syntax with a different color pen so that it will be much clearer. What it will do is, how what the syntax would look like is, you are going to simply write down the word if. By the way, it's a keyword. I would just like to mention it here. And inside the parenthesis, you are going to place a condition, a simple condition. Within parenthesis, curly braces, you are going to place. So this is what it would look like. You have to simply place a condition, or I can even say instead of condition, it is going to be a relational equation, you can say. I will clear this thing out in a couple of more minutes. Just give me some time. Let me just first write down all the syntaxes that we are aware about. Second part would be, we are already done with the if condition. Then we also have uh, else, that is else statement. Now the important point here is we cannot have else statement without if statement. Okay, let me just write down the syntax. What it means is, if a particular condition is true, then what it will do is it will simply execute this statement number 1. But in case if this condition is not true, then we can put a else statement here, which will make sure to execute that statement number 2 when this condition is not satisfied. In case if it is not true, in that case the statement 2 will be getting executed. This is the second syntax that we have. Well, we can have a couple of more actually. Let me just add, that is else if statement is also another thing. Now what is the use of else if statement? Let me just write down the syntax and then you will get very clear with it. Again, same rule applies here. You cannot have else if statement without if statement. I will just make sure to write down it as a note, so don't worry about it. I'm just going to mention it right now. If a condition 1, let's suppose a condition 1 is satisfying, if it is true, in that case statement 1 will be getting executed. As simple as that. We got to know it just now. And then let's suppose I wanted to check another condition. If it is not true, in case if this condition is not true, then I want to check another condition. So what I will do is I will simply say, if this condition is not true, then get to the next step and then check condition number 2. In case that is true, then simply execute statement number 2. As simple as that. But let's suppose even if that is not true, you can have another else if, another else if, another else if. You can have as many else if statements as you want, as many as you want. This particular structure, we are having a name out of it actually. This structure that I'm talking about right now, firstly if condition, then else if, else if, else if, else if, as many else if as you want. This is called, this structure is called as else if ladder. This is what the name of it. You can just remember the name. And at the very end, it's totally up to you. It is optional. You can put at the end, you can put else statement as well, which will make sure to execute, which will make sure to execute this default statement if none of the above statements are true, if none of the above conditions are true. In that case, this particular default condition will be getting executed, default statement will be getting executed. This is what our syntax of all of it looks like. You can have a screenshot or maybe you can just pause the video and write it down according to your speed. I'll just give you 1 second from my end. All right, so I hope most of you have must have written it down. That is great. Now, getting to the next part, that is, we have got to know about these conditions that I have been talking about. That this is a condition, this is a condition. What does that condition means? I have also mentioned that you can say relational equation. What exactly did I mean by that? Let me just mention that first of all. I hope you must have remembered from the previous class, that is, we have some relational operator as well. Let me just remind that as well very quickly. Only two type of operators we majorly use in these conditions. Operators we use in an condition. What do I mean by condition? Those conditions only which I've been mentioning here. These condition I'm talking about. One major one is relational operator. That is a comparison operator, you can also say. When I'm comparing, example I can give you. When I'm comparing, let's suppose two numbers, 5 less than 6. If this is what my condition is, then in that case, my answer will simply give us a true. Very nice. Let's suppose if I say 5 less than equal to 6, then what will happen? Then again it will give us true only. Let's suppose if I say 7 not equal to 7, when I'm comparing not equal to, it it is going to give us true when both are not equal. So right now it is going to give us false only because those are equal. Let's suppose I say 6 uh, less than equal to 6. In that case, less than and equal to, in any of the condition, it is going to give us true only. So right now it is true only. That's what relational operators looks like. Apart from relational operators, we also use logical operators many times in our condition. Possibly you might have heard about these logical operators. These are actually three kinds, which is AND operator, OR operator, and NOT operator. These are three things which we use. Let me just give you an example. First of all, how does AND operator works? When both conditions are true, then our answer will be, then our result will be true, else false. I have given you a straightforward definition. You can just write it down and save it for the future reference. Similarly, let me just mention definition for OR operator as well. This is how our OR operator looks like. These are two pipe symbols. When any condition is true, then our not over, then our result will be true, else false. That's what the definition of our OR operator is. We will get the real example of it, don't worry about it. Finally, we have the third one, NOT operator. That is, it simply toggles the condition. It simply toggles the condition. That means if your condition is true, if your result is true, it will make it false. If it is false, it will make it true. It will simply toggles the condition. That's all. So let me just give you a combined example of both of the operators. Combined example here. Let's suppose our equation looks like this. I'm just going to write down all the equations one by one, and you guys have to guess and find out the real answer as well, along with me. Okay. Let's suppose I say 5 less than 6, or operator 7 less than 4. Guess the answer out of it. I'm just going to keep on writing some other equations. Keep on writing down your answers in the comment section or in your notebook. Let's suppose I say 7 double equal to 7, and operator 6 greater than 7. Third equation, 5 less than equal to 5, or 7 less than, and I'm going to put a not operator in front of it. I think that much would be enough. So I think you must have found your answers. You can take a minute, you can pause the video, you can take a minute and then try to write down the answers in your notebook and write down the equation as well. And then we will discuss. Let me just explain it right now. I hope you must have tried it from your end. So as we can see, that is, in the first equation, we can see this particular part, 5 less than 6, is true only. This one is false. And in between we have a OR operators. According to our definition, when any of the condition is true, then our result will be true. Is any of the condition is true? Yes, one condition is already true. If one condition is true, our answer will be true. So in this case, our answer is true only. Our result will be true only. Okay. What about next one? It is saying 7 double equal to 7. I think this condition is true. So this condition is true. What about this one? 6 greater than 7. That is, I think is false. And in between, this time, we have an AND operator. According to the definition, when both conditions are true, then our result will be true only, else false. Does our both conditions looks true to you? No, both conditions are not true. That means our answer will be simply false in this case. Let's just try to solve from the simplest part, that is this part. 5 less than equal to 5. That seems to be true according to me. 7 less than 8. That also seems to be true. In between, we have a OR operator. And according to our definition, when any of the condition is true, our answer will be, I can see at least one of the condition is definitely true. In this case, two conditions are true, so both are true. Our answer will be true only according to OR operator. So our answer for this whole condition from here to here will be true only. But as we can see at the outermost part, we are having a not operator as well, which according to definition, it simply toggles the condition. If our result is true, then it will simply make it false. We'll simply get to the false part. So that's our small exercise to understand the operators here. Okay. Now, why did I explain these concepts to you? Because these kind of conditions will be available in here, inside the statements. If condition, else if condition, else statements, anywhere. These type of conditions might be present in some places, or you might need to add those places. So if we understood these statements, let's just make a why don't we just practice a quick question out of it, a quick small question only. Write a program. WAP means write a program to check if a student is passed or failed. Passed or failed. So couple of things we are going to assume here only. That is, a student will be passed if its percentage are greater than equal to 33. Simply that. This is going to be our condition here. Let's just assume this is given in the question itself. Now we will just create a program out of it. All right, so let's just do that. Again, in the same online compiler, we are going to write down the question. Let me just mention the question one more time right here in a comment form. Write a program to check if a student is passed or failed in exam. I am simply assuming that obviously we have to input the percentage of that student, correct? So what I will do is I will simply create a scanner class just like we have created it in the last session. I have to simply create a scanner class first of all. This is how we create the scanner class, as I have told you earlier. And then we have to input the percentage, and obviously percentage are going to be in the integer format, as simple as that. So what I will do is I will declare a variable and I will name it as percentage. The variable's names should be self-explanatory, that is very mandatory. Then how do we input a number? If you remember it from the previous session, scn.nextInt is what we do to input a number. Once we have inputted the percentage, now it's our task to check if a student is passed or not. So, how to check a condition? Using a if statement. Inside the if statement, we have to check that if the percentage of students are greater than or equal to 33. So what I will do is I will simply use this variable percentage is greater than equal to 33. If that is the case, I am simply going to print passed. Otherwise, that means else, I am simply going to print out it is failed. System.out.println failed. And that's it actually. We have completed our program. Let me just try to run it once. But before running it, we are just going to input some number here. Let's suppose I have said 45. 45 is the percentage that I am inputting in this time. So if I run it, it is simply mentioning passed. If in case I have mentioned 15, then it is going to be printing failed. So yes, it is working as expected only. Our activity is completed. Let me just copy this code once to our notes. Here we have put it the code. Done. Now we can simply get to the next very important part. Let me just write that down as well, which is loops. Some people call it iterator as well because it is used to iterate over something. If we are traversing over something, that is simply iteration itself. So the loops which we are going to study right now are, first of all, is for loop, which is the most famous loop and the very first loop that anyone would ever learn. What we would do is, first of all, we will simply mention the syntax. That is the most important part here. What you will do is, you will simply have to mention for keyword, and then in the parentheses, there are going to be three conditions, three things which you have to place. First thing would be initialization of a variable. One variable we are going to initialize here. Then we have to place semicolon, and then we have to place the stopping condition. Then when exactly it is going to stop. and third one is going to be, again put a semicolon and then put upgradation. That's it. Then in the parenthesis, then in curly braces, then in curly brackets, we can simply mention any statement, one statement or some number of statements, totally up to us. From here to here, I'm all the time I'm definitely mentioning these yellow square type of thing, simply where when I'm trying to mention that from here to here our loop is uh, expanding. From here to here our loop exists. Now all three things, let me just explain very quickly. First of all, this one, what is initialization? Then this one, what is condition? And finally, the third one, what do you mean by upgradation? By initialization, I means when to start the loop. There must be a time when we are going to start a loop. It could be any time. It could be at the very right now instant as well. But it is still a time. It is still we have to mention that when exactly are we going to start our loop. Second thing is condition. When to stop the loop. That is also another very important thing, that when exactly are we going to stop the loop. We cannot just simply keep on running it infinitely. If we do not put a stopping condition, the loop will go infinite and it will never get stopped, never ever. Upgradation is by how many steps we are moving. What it means to say is, that is right now, let's suppose I'm standing at the 0 kilometers. By in one step, am I going to the 100th meter, or am I going to the 1 kilometer step, or am I going to the 10 kilometer step? By how much distance am I taking the steps? That's what our upgradation looks like. When I give you an example, it will be much more clearer, but as of now, this is what our syntax of a for loop looks like. Please make sure to make a note out of it. So right now I'm simply hoping that you must have write down the notes out of it. What we'll do right now is, we will take an example. We will write down a question and then we will try to write down the code out of it. It's going to be a simple, straightforward task. Very simple. Print numbers from 1 to 10. As simple as that. That's all. Now, there are two ways to solve this question. Either you can put 10 print statement one by one and simply print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That you can do. But let's suppose if I change the question, print 1 to 100, print the numbers from 1 to 100, then I really going to place 100 print statements. What if I do 1000? Then you can definitely not put 1000 print statements. That's where the loops are very, very useful. Okay. So let's just see how exactly our code would look like when we are trying to solve this question using loops. I'm simply going to remove all the previous code and question also I have to update, write a program to numbers from 1 to 10. Done. We don't need any input in this case. And let's just clear out the output. So here what we'll do is, we are simply going to write down the syntax of a for loop, which I have just mentioned. We have to mention the keyword for. That's what I did here. And then there are three things. One is initialization, then semicolon, then our obviously stopping condition, again semicolon, and then we have upgradation. And inside the curly braces, we have to put a condition, not condition, statement actually. What these things will be, let's just try to figure it out. So as according to my question, I think I have from somewhere from 1, right? So initialization is simply the starting point. What I will do is, I will simply declare a variable I. I is the very commonly used variable which we use in the loops. I will start my variable I from 1. Then up till when I have to go? I think I have to go up till 10. So what I will do is, I will simply say, keep on running until your I value is less than equal to 10. That means until it reaches the value 10, keep on running your loop. Very nice. That is the stopping condition going to be. Upgradation is going to be, by how much am I going to move? What is the definition of upgradation? By how much am I going to move in one step? In upgradation, I would say I have to print all the numbers from 1 to 10. That means if I move by just one step, by just one number, then it would be great. So I think what I can do is I can simply say I plus plus. Do is it will simply increase the value of I variable by 1. That's what I plus plus do. If I simply say I minus minus, it will simply decrease the value by 1. As simple as that. In statement section, what I will do is I will simply print what I am manipulating. And what exactly am I manipulating? I am manipulating variable I. So that's exactly what I'm going to print right here inside this loop. Now if I try to run it right now, you guys can easily see we can easily print all the numbers from 1 to 10 in a single go. You don't have to put you don't actually have to put 10 print statements here. So that is very very handy. Let me just add this code in our notes right here. So that was one thing. We have talked about for loop as of now. Apart from for loop, we do have another thing as well, another loop as well, which we have to discuss, which is going to be while loop. And same as for loop, while loop is used to perform the exact same thing, actually same iteration, only the syntax would be a little bit different. Let me show you what syntax would look like, what syntax of while loop would look like. One thing to note down here is any question that you can solve using for loop can similarly be solved using while loop as well, and vice versa. Any question that you can solve using while loop can also be solved using for loop. So those are similar things, only just different way of writing same things. Syntax would be initialization at the, as I said, same exact things will be used in here as well. We are simply going to initialize at the very beginning, then afterward we are going to use the while keyword, then inside the parenthesis we are going to put down the stopping condition, then inside the loop we are going to place our statement, whichever we want to print, no matter what it is. And afterwards, at the very end of the loop, at the very end of the loop, we are going to put upgradation. And then we can simply end our while loop, close our while loop. From here to here, our while loop will be uh, present. These are the exact same things. You can simply copy paste exact same things from for loop into the while loop and it will still work. It will always and always will work. Let's just say if I wanted to perform exact same question using while loop, then what would you do? Then what will I do? What I will do is, let me just write down another while loop here just underneath this loop. I will simply say, according to my syntax, at the very beginning I have to place the initialization part. So that's what I will do. I will simply copy this thing and paste it here. Correct? Then I will simply say put the while keyword and then put the condition inside it. Very nice. If I have to put the condition, then I will simply paste the condition exactly as it is here. I do not have to change anything here. I do not have to write down the logic from the beginning again. No, I simply have to copy paste exact same thing. I have to copy the statement, whichever it is written here. I will simply paste it right here. And then we have at the very end, we have upgradation, which we are going to paste right here as according to our syntax. As you can see, everything is placed exactly as it is, just with a different syntax. Let me just comment this thing and we can see if it is working fine or not. If I run it right now, it is also going to print exact same output because working is same only. Working of both the loops are exactly same, only difference would be in the syntax. Let me just place this code as well in our notes. Now we are done with the loops as well. So as we are about to, as we have already ended two of the most major loops that we widely use in our normal regular day programming, regular day coding. So I would say it would be a better option to just try to practice a couple of more questions. Try simple, straightforward questions, which will give us a better explanation of how the loops will work. We will make sure to solve two questions with both the loops, with for loop as well, with while loop as well. As I have already informed all of you earlier, that is, whichever question you have solved using for loop will just be a different way of writing the exact same thing. So same exact same thing you can simply copy and paste using the while loop, and it will also work in exact same way. Well, you might ask that what exactly would be the difference then? Why exactly do we have two type of loops? Before moving to the questions, let me just clear that thing out as well. That is, in a for loop, when you initialize right here, it actually got initialized inside the for loop. That means scope of this variable will be from here to here. That means starting from this curly brackets ending till this curly brackets. It will only be present inside this area. Anywhere outside this area, either below or top, this particular variable does not exist. So whenever you're trying to access it here or here outside the loop, it will not be accessible. That is one thing we have in the for loop, and uh, which is not present in while loop. Here, if you see, this initialization is outside the while loop. It is not inside these brackets. No, it is outside the while loop. So in this case, if you try to access this variable, this initialized variable right here, it will be present. And even if you try to access it outside the loop, it will still be present. If you try to access this here, access it, this variable here, outside this loop, below the loop, it will still be present. Even if you try to access it here, it will still be present. Obviously, above the initialization, it will not be present because till that time it was not declared. Once it is declared, then any time underneath it, it will be present. And then if you want to perform some additional operations on top of this variable apart from this loop, you can do it underneath the loop, after the loop, that is valid. That is actually the major difference that we have in for loop and while loop, as straightforward as that. So let's just move to the question now, that is, if we have already written a program to print all the numbers from start to end, this time what we can do is write a program to add all numbers from 1 to 10, as straightforward as that. It is not going to be any different. It is not very difficult. It is straightforward, similar type of question only. So let's just try to do that. Previously what we did is we have printed the numbers from 1 to 10. This time we are trying to add all the numbers from 1 to 10, right? Or why don't we make it more interesting? Add all the numbers from 1 to a variable n. Yeah, that would be much more interesting. Instead of 10, we have a variable n which we are going to add the numbers till that point. So what I will do is, because this time we need a number n until which we have to perform an operation. So what we will do is, we have to input this number. And how do we input a number? Obviously using the scanner class. Once we have created a scanner class, we have to input that particular number n. So let's just define this variable number n, then input it using the inbuilt method, which is scn.nextInt. Correct? As you guys remember. Now what we have to do is, we have to obviously iterate from starting from number 1 till the number n. So to iterate, we are going to use obviously our for loop, as we already know. From where do you think we have to start our loop? Well, correct. Yes, you're guessing it right. Obviously, we have to start it from 1, because that's where our series is getting started. And what exactly would be the correct time to stop this loop? Well, you again guessed it right. We have to go up till the number n. Now, n could be anything. N could be 10, 20, 50, 1000, 10,000, anything. But we have to go up till this number n. So I Previously I was less than equal to 10. This time it is going to be I less than equal to n. As simple as that, because we have to go up till n. And what is the upgradation part will be? Obviously you have to add each and every number, right? So to add each and every number, you have to reach to each and every number by adding one in the previous number. You can simply say I plus plus, which will be working in the exactly same way. Only difference this time would be that instead of simply printing the number, we have to add that number in our answer. So what I will do is I will simply declare an answer before the loop. I have simply declared an int type of answer before the loop as a 0 with the default value as 0. Now, anytime I reach to a number, I will simply take it and add it in my answer variable. I will simply say answer will become answer plus I. Add into answer and then redefine the answer variable. As I said, variables can be redefined, its value can be changed. Here exactly same thing is happening. Our answer variable is keep on getting changed with the updated number, which is keep on getting added again and again. At the end, after the loop ended and every single number we have traversed from start to end, we can simply print that answer. So let's just input, what do I say? Let's suppose 5. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. That should be our answer. I think it will be what? 15, right? Let's just try to run it right now and see if it is working correct or not. It is giving us 15, which is absolutely right. So it is working as expected. If I simply use 50 instead of 5 and I run it, it is going to give us 1275, which I am assuming right now that it is correct only. You guys can check if it is right or not. Great. Very nice. So let me just do one thing and add this code in our notes, and you can perform the exact same code. You can perform the exact same uh, operation using the while loop as well. Let me just update this syntax one more time to show you that it is going to work in exact same way without any changes. Initialization is I equal to 1, because here also we are getting started with 1 only. Let me just comment this thing out. Here I have commented the for loop. Done. So let me just write down the while loop right here. Initialization, I have done it, which is exactly same as here. Inside the while loop, as I said, stopping condition will be there. So I less than equal to n, which is going to be exactly same which I have mentioned right here. Then inside it, whatever the statement is, exact statement I can simply copy and paste right here. Exact same thing. It will still work. Only one thing is missing, that is upgradation. Absolutely right. Here in this scenario, upgradation was I plus plus. So exact same thing I am going to perform right here as well, and our upgradation will also be working. And a print statement is also there. I have not commented that thing. So once this loop is fully executed, and once all the calculations are done properly, our answer variable, which I have declared earlier, will be getting printed at the very end of the code. That means at the line number 18. So according to me, exact same answer should be coming once again. Previously we got 1275 by using 50. So I'm again giving the exact same input. Let's just see if it is going to give us exact same answer once again or not. Yes, it is going to give us, it is giving exact same answer only because it is working exactly as expected. If I use 5 instead of 50, so it should be giving 15 only, which is correct answer. True. Very nice. It is working as expected. One last small question we are going to perform one more time. Just one last question. That is, print this series. One series will be given to us. We have to print this series, which is the series is 4, 7, 11, 14, dot 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 until value n. Some number n will be there. You have to print it up till the value n. That is what our question is as of now. It is a simple, straightforward question of a loop. There are not going to be any difference. We have to simply print this series according to our observation. Now we have to observe right here. What our task here is to observe that from where the exactly our series is getting started up till when the series is going to continue, and by how much do we have to move in each step in this series. That's what our task would be right now. I think three things we can easily find out. One is initialization, topping condition, and obviously our upgradation. I would say you guys take a second, pause the video, and just write down these three things according to our question. Just try to figure out our variable I will be getting started from what exact point, our condition will be getting stopped at what exact point, and according to the series our number should be getting increased by how much by every time. It can be getting increased or it can be getting decreased as well, totally up to your observation. Just check it once. All right, so I hope you guys might have done it. According to my observation, I could easily see that our variable I, or whatever variable that we are going to assume, is getting started at 4. Our starting point is 4 of this series, which is true. Another other than that, this series will be running. This series will be keep on getting printed until the value n. So that means until your I is less than equal to n, same as the previous question. Exactly same as the previous question, until the I value is less than equal to n. And final observation would be how to upgrade this series. That is, from 4 to 7, I could say it is getting increased by from 7 to 11. I think I might have written this series in a wrong way. This series is actually not, this one is not going to be 11 actually. Although it is, no, it is right only. Just instead of 4, we have to mention 3 here. Uh, that one number got wrong. This is also not right. 4 and this one is, yes. Now it is correct only. Sorry about that. We are getting started from 4, and then we are moving to which is getting increased by 3, then from 7 to 10, which is again getting increased by 3, then again from 10 to 13, which is again getting increased by 3. So our I value, our I variable should be getting increased by 3 by every time. So I will simply say I should be equal to I plus 3, as simple as that. Now these three things we can simply directly put inside the loop, either for loop or while loop. It will simply work as expected. So let's just write down the loop in the compiler itself. Here what I will do is I will simply write down a loop. I value is getting started from what exactly we have written here, from 4. Very nice. Then according to our observation, the stopping condition would be I less than equal to n. Exactly same I have placed right here. And according to our observation, our last thing would be getting increased by 3. I value getting increased by 3. I will be I plus 3. Obviously, we can simply print all the numbers which we are seeing right here. And I variable we can simply print. Or we can print it in a single line as well. We don't need to print it in separate line every time. I can simply remove ln from here and simply concatenate. I will let you know what concatenation is. Right now we can simply concatenate an extra space after this I. Let's just try to run it right now. If it is, because our input was 5, that's why only 4 is getting printed. If instead of 5, let's just clear this thing out. Instead of 5, let's suppose we have 50. Then what will happen? Then it will print a series 4, 7, 10, 13. Is it exactly same as ours? 4, 7, 10, 13. Yes, it is same only. Then we have 16, 19, and so on up till it is less than equal to 50. We can simply have 52 as well. Then 52 also will be included. As you can see, after 49, we have 52 as well. So it is working as expected only. Instead of if I say 520, then it will be printing a lot of numbers. But it is still correct only. But it is still correct only. It is working as expected. So if we have already done it, why don't we just simply do the exact same thing using while loop as well, just to make it double sure that yes, it is working as expected. In exactly same way, I equal to 4, then put a while loop which is going to be exactly same, I less than equal to n, and then at the very end we are going to have I uh, plus I equal to I plus 3, which is upgradation. One statement that we have is print statement. So system.out.print with I with an additional space, which is exactly same. So exact same series will be getting printed as we have seen earlier. Run it right now, and yes, exact same series is getting printed. So it is working as expected only. Place in, and this question according to me is, and with that we have completed our loops part. Our loops are completed by this session, and we have also completed our conditions, some of the operators questions. I would say most of the important, we are going to have more important topics like arrays and strings. One is arrays, most important, and other one is going to be strings. So both are one of the most widely used topics, most famous data structures you can say. So one very small identification I can simply mention right now here. Heard about different data structures at different point of time in your life. You might practice them, and each of the topic might be having some more number of questions, some less number of questions to cover it entirely. Like I can give you a straightforward example. Like dynamic programming is one topic of DSA, which is not having too much questions. Once you are able to cover all those questions, let's just assume 25 questions. Once you are able to cover all 25 types of categories, then that topic would be over. But on the other side, arrays and strings is one is such a topic which has infinite number of questions. It means you might face easiest question of your life from this topic, and you might also face hardest question of your life from these topics. That is why these two topics are the one which people practice the most. So that's exactly why we are going to study it in such depth that it will be much clearer and crystal clear to each and everyone. Okay, all right. So first of all, let's just start with arrays. We'll talk about strings after this. First of all, simple definition would be required that what exactly is an array that we are saying it is very, very important. Let me just mark it as important. So, array is defined as, I can simply say it is defined as collection of similar type of data type. We have learned about data types in the previous session. What exactly is a data type? It's a category of a you can say variable. That is, variable can be of these many data types. So there we found out that each variable can be of one type of data type, but that is only a single entity. That was only a single unit or single entity. What if in some scenarios we wanted to work with multiple such quantities, and obviously we would need to manage them in a proper way? That's where arrays appears. Well, array is a data structure which stores all the similar type of data types together. So what exactly this array looks like? If I want to imagine our array, how would it look like? Well, it would look like something like this. This is what actual structure of an array looks like. Now, this array also, just like our data type, this array also can be of different type of data type. That means what I meant to say is, assuming this array is of type int. Let's just assume that for the beginning. Just for sake of information, we are assuming that this array is integer type of data type. So as according to definition, it is saying it is a collection of similar type of data type. And if array is of int type, that means every single entity, every single element that we are going to place inside these boxes are going to be of int data type. That means similar data type. You cannot simply store int data type here and again int here, and then you can say I am going to store boolean here. That is not allowed. You cannot store string here. If your array is defined as integer type of data type, then all the numbers, all the entities will be of integer only. That means right now, if you have created this array as of integer data type, so it can look like something like this. Any random numbers could be there. Any type of numbers within our range can be there. Do not assume, one important point here is, do not assume that, and let's suppose 7.0, well, both of them look similar only. If I have 7 here and 7.0 here, both of them might look similar only, but that is also not allowed. Decimal numbers will also not be allowed because those are not integer type of data type. Those are either float or decimal. So only whole numbers can be here. Your data type is of int type. Well, obviously, apart from you can also have different type. You can also create a boolean type of. In that case, your array will be contain only boolean type of values. That means either true or false, nothing more than that. You can also have string. We can have all the data types that we have learned earlier. Float type of array as well. We can have double type of array as well. String type of boolean done. We can also have char type of array. We can also have char type of array. That is allowed to us. And in future, when we go advanced, then you will be able to find there are other things which you can store inside the array as well. You can even store a whole class here in each of these boxes. In each of these boxes, you can even store the whole class, and a class can contain anything else. But we are not going to that part as of now. As of now, we are simply keeping here only. So moving forward, one important point we have already mentioned here, that is, our array is a collection of similar type of data type. Let me just organize it in a proper way like this. And one more important point I would just like to mention here itself. In array, data is stored in continuous manner. What this line means is, that means all the data that we are storing, assuming, let's just assume that we are having five, or here, how many elements do we have? We have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Let's suppose eight elements we have, eight data elements we have. And if I want to store it in an array, well, in reality, array is just a data structure, and obviously it uses computer's memory, system's memory to store information. Here we are just imagining that it is storing in each and every element, each and every box. But in reality, obviously, it will be storing in computer's memory. Because it is storing in computer's memory, there also we have some places to store this data. In those places, it that memory actually looks like a net, which is having small boxes, uh, almost infinite number of small boxes. What I am saying in the second line here is, whenever I'm trying to store data in an array, it will always be getting stored one after another. That means in a continuous manner. Our data in array will not be stored randomly at different addresses. Those boxes are actually having addresses for us to locate those elements. Let's just not get any complex in this part. But what I'm trying to say is that every data stores in a continuous manner. That means what its profit is, if you have address of the first element, if you have location of the first element, you can easily access other elements as well, their consecutive elements as well, because you are totally aware that if I have the location of first element, I will be having location of all the other elements as well, because they are all in continuous manner itself. We do not have to find it in the entire uh, memory. So that actually saves a lot of time. That is why we are having very fast operations in arrays. That is why it is also widely used as well. So that is some advantage we have of array. Now, another important thing comes, that is, how do we define an array? Well, we have got to know, of course, that this is what array is, and it is having such advantages. Very nice. But now I want to use it. How do I use it? So let me just write down syntax of how do you define an array. We have to mention data type first of all. That is what type of array I want to create. Then afterwards, I will be placing two square brackets, one opening and one closing, with some space. I am going to write down the array name, whatever variable name I want to place, array name. Then with equal to, I am going to say new. And again, same data type here as well. And one last time, square brackets I'm going to have, inside which we are going to mention the size of our array. We are going to just end this statement. This is what syntax of our array looks like. So let me just try to use this. Let's have an example. Same example, let's suppose I just want to create this array itself. So we already know that this array is having 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So what I want to do is I want to create an integer type of array which is having size 8. So what I will do is I will simply mention int, because which is the data type, then our square brackets, which are going to be empty only, and then our array name. This could be anything as according to our requirement. So I am going to simply name it as ARR with assignment operator. That means equal to. I am going to mention keyword new. This is a keyword to note it down that this new is a keyword and it is a very, very important keyword. After new, we are going to mention again same data type, and with square brackets I'm going to mention the size of this array, which is going to be 8 as according to my now actual structure. These numbers are not present inside this array, so we do have an array but it is empty only. This array is having name. One important point you can note down here is newly defined int array will be containing zero value by default. That means because I haven't mentioned any number inside these indexes as of now, so right now by default it will be containing number 0 in all the indexes, in all the places. And that is true for Java language only. That means if you go to other languages, there are other rules to get the default values. Like in C++, there are garbage values. In Java, there is zero value, which is going to be there by default. So by this line, we have created this array. One very important note here is, one very important point here is, each location on array is always imaginary number. So indexing is also another concept which is present in array. That means every location here that we can see is having an imaginary number assigned to it. And it always starts from zero. Very, very important point to note. It always starts from zero and it will be keep on going in the forward direction one by one. So that means if your array size is 8, then the very last index of your array will always be one less than your size. Obviously, because your numbering is getting started from 0. From now on, our numbering will start from 0 instead of 1, which will give us a good practice. So that is one important point which we have noted down. Please make sure to note down all these notes because these are important. So as we have now got to know about the basics of how array would look like, how do we define an array, now obviously we wanted to perform some operations on the arrays. That means if I wanted to get the value which is placed at a particular index, from now on we are going to mention the word index. So make sure instead of location you will say index. So let's suppose if I wanted to update the element at a particular index, then how do we do that? If I wanted to get the value at a particular element, then how do we do that? Things like that. If we wanted to perform, then how do we do that? Let's just look into that. How to access. Let's suppose this particular array, we are going to reuse the same particular array. We are going to imagine these numbering as well, because every array will be having these indexing. If I wanted, let's suppose this number, this 7 I wanted to access, then how do I do that? I need to store that number somewhere. Let's suppose I have created a variable a inside which I wanted to store this number. So what I will do is I will simply use this array name, whatever the name of that array would be. And with square brackets, I am going to simply mention the index here. If I mention 4, it will simply provide us the value 7. As simple as that. That's all. Majorly square brackets are will be in a major point while you are dealing with arrays. Let's suppose now in case if I wanted to access -2, then what will we do? As you might have guessed, right? I am going to mention the array name, and then inside the square brackets I am going to mention the index, which is 1. Now this question might come to your mind, that is, if I can place any number inside the square brackets, why cannot I just place -1 or maybe 9 or 8, which is not present here? Well, you can place the number there, but it will not give you any valid output. Any number outside the range of array will give. it will obviously going to give us exception. But what kind of exception? What is the name of the exception will be? The exception name would be index out of bound exception. This will be the name of the exception, as it is very self-explanatory that our index that we are trying to place is out of the range of our array. Let's suppose we have, if we have got, how do we access the element in the, let's suppose now I wanted to check how do I update the element in array, update the value in array. Obviously assuming that we still have this same array present to us. So what we will do is, let's suppose our task is to update this 100 into minus 100, or let's suppose this 100 to 200. I wanted to update this. Obviously I would need access this particular area and then update the value. Again I have to access the same particular area, the same particular index. So what I will do is, I'm going to use the exact same way which I have used earlier. That is, I am going to use my array name, whatever that array name might be. And then with square brackets, I am going to mention its index. Once I did that, now I am at this particular index, and now I can do whatever I want right here. So what I will do is, I will simply assignment operator I will use and assign an updated value to this index, which is going to be, and that's all. This is how we can simply update the value at a particular index. Please make sure to note it down. So I am assuming, I hope you guys must noted it down, noted down the important points here. There are a couple of small points which I would like to mention right here at this place itself. There are we are having some number of inbuilt functions present in array. Let's suppose if you have this array name, if you have this array name and you wanted to know that what is the size of this array, how many elements is it actually containing. Let's suppose if it is not defined by us, if this array is not defined by us, that means we would definitely need to know that what would be the size of this array. It is going to be very useful. That is, there are many inbuilt functions we have for each data structure. You can definitely go and check out over the Google. You might find it over Geeks for Geeks website. That is, how many inbuilt functions and what are all the inbuilt functions we have for each uh, maybe array, and then with for different data types, data structures. One of the most important one, actually two most important ones are right here, which I'm going to mention. That is, if we want to find, let's suppose if we want to know length of array. So what we are going to do is, if we already have array name, we are going to take the array name, and with a dot I am going to mention simply length. That's all, without any parenthesis. We do not need any parenthesis right here to access the length of the array. So this will be the inbuilt function. Please make sure to note it down as well. And apart from this, another important point which I would like to mention here is, there is one speciality in array. That is, array is static in nature. What do I mean by that? That is, if some data structure is static, that means its size is not changeable. That means once you have defined an array, just like what we have did right here. Once we have created this line, once we have written this line and we defined the size of the array as 8, in its entire future, it can never change its size. It will always and always remain 8 size only. Well, it is very important to mention it right here, because there are other data structures whose size can be changed. That means you might be performing some number of operations on some of the data structures, and later on in future you are able to increase its size. You are able to change the size from 8 to 9 and then 10 and then 11. You might also be able to decrease the size of those data structures, but for array it is not possible. For array, you can have only one and only one single size which you have defined at the very beginning of its initialization, or you can say of its declaration. So now if we are aware about these things in array, so now question appears that how array is useful to us. Well, it is obviously useful because it is storing many number of elements and we are able to manipulate them according to our need. Well, very good question again appears that how are we manipulating these elements? Well, obviously we need to reach at each of the element one by one and then change it according to our need. How do we reach them? That is the point which we are going to cover right now. How do we traverse on array, or you can say travel? Both are same only. How do we travel on the array? Right now, let's just simply travel on the array and print all the elements. Let's just try to do that. Let me just explain you this first of all. That is, for traversing on any of anything, we obviously need a loop. Okay, so right now we are going to use for loop as an example. Let's just say, let me just bring our array here itself, array here as well. Let's suppose I want to traverse on this particular array. What I will do is, I will simply write down a loop, for loop, and as you might already remember the syntax of our for loop, the very first part of our for loop is simply initialization of a variable. So what I will do is, I will simply initialize a variable I starting from 0. I am going to start this number from 0 from now on instead of 1, because reason of that is because we need indexing to access each element, and indexing is definitely getting started from 0. So we do not want any of the element to miss. That is why we are starting from the very beginning, that is 0th index. Then with the semicolon, we have initialized our I variable from 0. Now second part will be containing a stopping condition, that is up till what number are we traversing. Well, here we are totally aware that size of the array is simply 8. That means last index will be 7 only. So what I will do is, I will simply say keep on moving, keep on running the loop until your value I is less than or equal to 7. That means until it reaches the value 7. Third part would obviously be upgradation, which is getting changed by +1 every time. So I will simply say I plus plus right here. Now inside the curly brackets, what I would like to do is, I would simply like to, what our task was to print each and every element. And obviously, to print each and every element, you would need to access each and every element, which you already aware about. How do we access each and every element? By using the array name and then with a square bracket its index. And as you can remember, just now we have declared the index as I. So what I will do is, straightforwardly I will write down a print statement. First of all, system.out println, and inside this statement I am going to simply mention my array name. This array name could be anything. Right now it is ARR. Inside the square brackets I am going to simply mention the index, which is I in this case. With a semicolon, I'm going to simply end our statement, and that is it. That is how we traverse over array. So now we are totally aware about all the manipulation part of the array and how do we print the elements in the array. One important point I would like just like to mention is, in this our case, we were previously aware that size of our array is 8 only. That is why what we did is, we have simply placed a hard coded number here. That might not be the case each and every time. You have got an array whose size you are not aware about. So you will not be able to find this number without any inbuilt function. But fortunately, we already have an inbuilt function which I have just mentioned right now only. How do we find length of the array? Using this inbuilt function, arr.length. So what we can do is, instead of putting any hard coded number anywhere, we would always like to mention the inbuilt function, which is going to be arr. And if you can note here, I have removed equal to from here. Previously equal to was there, which I have removed. Why is that? Because arr.length will give you the size of the array, which is obviously going to be, what is it, size of the array is going to be 8 only. And as we can easily observe here, our last index is always going to be 7. Not always 7, but it is always going to be 1 less than the size. If size is appearing as 8, so last index will always be 7. That is why we have not put it any equal to here. Otherwise, it would have gone out of the size of the array, outside the range of the array. So actually, I value is moving from 0 to 7 in this loop. Now, I would like to just give you a homework question which you guys can practice for this part. So, what you are going to do is, write a program to create an array and marks of three subjects, print the average of those numbers. I hope it will be pretty straightforward only, because now you are totally aware about how do you create an array. You are also aware about how do you take input a number, and marks are obviously going to be in number format itself. Finally, you have to traverse over the array again and find the average. I hope everyone is aware about how do you find the average of a number. Great. So now if array part we can call as complete, and let me just mention some important points regarding strings topic as well, because that is also another important point, another important topic that we have, which is obviously very very widely used and very very important as well. So what exactly is an array? Just like what is a string, so just like an array, array is collection of similar type of data type, right? What string is? String is actually collection of characters. That's it. As straightforward as it is. That means everyone, each and every one of us are already aware about what character is. Character is simply one single length alphabet or number or symbol surrounded with single quote. Anything like this is going to be considered as a character. When we have collection of all the characters, then it will be considered as a string. For example, how does it what it looks like is, a string looks like this: A, B, C, D surrounded with double quotes. This is a very important point to note, is string is always surrounded with double quote. Very important point here is, that is, it does not matter what is the length of our string is. If it is surrounded with double quotes, then it is a string. That means secondary, I can say, if I say A, small a, surrounded with double quotes, it is also a string. It is not a character anymore. A character can only be surrounded with single quotes. If anything is surrounded with double quotes, it will always be considered as a string. Another important thing here, that is, string does not really matters on what exactly you are storing inside the double quotes. So that means even if I say 1, 2, 3, 4, that is also going to be considered as a string. You can have capital letters as well, and along with that, combination of small letters as well. Another example I can say, even if you say capital A, 1, then small b, then small z, this is also a string because it is surrounded with double quotes. Even if you say double quotes and then imagine two or three spaces here, that is also considered as a string itself. This is also an example of a string, even if it is a space, even if it is a single space, double space, triple space, or any symbol as well. Even if you say there are plus sign and then space and then minus sign, that is also a string. Everything surrounded with double quotes is always going to be considered as a string, as straightforward as that. Now, one property we have just observed in arrays, that is, array contains indexing. Similar to that, string also contains indexing. Let me just write it down because that is very very important. String indexing concept. That means whatever string I define, let me just define a string here. Okay, before going to indexing part, let me just mention about the syntax as well, right? That how exactly we define a string. If I want to define a string, its definition would be, its declaration or initialization will be exactly same as what we have done normally. Only difference is, make sure to remember that string will always be having capital S. Keyword will always be having capital S. That means it looks like this: capital S, string, string, and then because this is the data type, the space we have to mention. I mostly call it str. It is easy for me to remember that this is a string, so I always call it str. And then with assignment operator, we can put any other value here. I'm going to say small a, small b, small c, and small d. With a semicolon, I'm going to end it. This is actually one way through which we can define a string. There is another way as well through which we can define a string. I can say string str is equal to new string. That is also a valid definition. That is also a valid declaration of a string. And then you can easily update the value in a similar way. Now, let me just keep this string as an example right here. Now, because this string, because I just mentioned that string is having indexing concept as well. That means this here we are also going to have some imaginary numbers assigned to it, And indexing always starts from zero, no matter where we are talking about indexing. If we are talking about indexing, it is always and always going to start from zero only. So right now, indexing assigned as small a is at zero index, small b is at first index, small c is at second index, and small d is at third index. One another point which I can add right here is, just like in array, we have found length of the string, length of the array. Here also we have an inbuilt function which we can use. Used to do what? Used to simply find the size of your string. Just same as the array, we also have an inbuilt function, but it looks a little bit different here. That means if I want to know what is the size of my string, I have to simply mention the name of my string, which in this case is going to be simply str, and then with a dot I can simply mention length, same as array, but here we are going to have a parenthesis as well, which is going to return us a number. It will always, this inbuilt function will always return us a number, which is going to mention size of our string. Can someone told me what will it return in this case? If this is the string that we are talking about, then what will be the number we are going to get in return? You might have guessed absolutely right that it is going to return us 4, because that many number of elements we have inside this length. Because the size of the string is 4 only, that means last index will always be one less than the length. Same as that, indexing concept is same everywhere. So here also it is same only. Please make sure to note these things down as well. So if you have noted it down, I would like to mention here that apart from this one, in this case in strings, we have a couple of more inbuilt functions which are very very widely used and which are very very important as well. Let me just mention those inbuilt function. Those will be pretty straightforward and neat and clean only. So what I will do is I will simply take one new example, and then I will mention all the inbuilt functions given to us. Our example would be, let's suppose if I have defined a string str, which looks like this: small abc and then capital ABC. That will be our example. Obviously, I don't think I need to mention it again and again. That is, there will be indexing, which will always be starting from zero. So we are simply going to always assume that this is always there. This yellow numbers are always there, which are called as indexing. The very first inbuilt function which I have told you is find the length of the string. It is going to be str dot length with parenthesis. This is going to return, in this case it is going to return obviously 6. Very nice. Now what if a string is given to us, which is this one. Let's suppose I wanted to check uh, what exactly is present at index 2. What will I do? Which character is present at index 2? Same as array, we can easily access these elements as well using the index. Find character at an index, at a particular index. This is the first one, this is the second one. How do we do that? What do we have to do is we have to simply write down the name of our string, which is str, and then with a dot, we have to mention char at, which is simply short for character at, small c and capital A. Our inbuilt function looks like this: char at. That means in this string, what is the character at index, at this particular index? What do we have to do is we have to mention this inbuilt function, and then within the parenthesis, we have to mention the index as well. So if I say str all aware that this inbuilt function is going to simply return a character, and I hope everyone remembers that character will always be surrounded with single quotes. So it will be containing small c. Exact same thing, but this time I will simply change the index from 2, let's suppose 4. So this time it will be containing capital B as a character. This will be returning capital B as a character. But if I do this thing one last time, and this time I will simply mention 6. What it will do is it will return us, because now we have got out of the range of the string. And what is the name of this exception will be? This will be the exception name. Let's just talk about another inbuilt function, lowercase letters. That means I have some lowercase letters, some uppercase letters randomly placed here. Let's suppose I wanted to have all the letters as lowercase only. So I do have an inbuilt function for that as well. What I can do is I can simply say str dot lowercase. Here L and C are both capital. If I mention that, this entire string will be getting returned by converting every single character. So this will be our result. Small abc, small abc. And I think it is very obvious that if I wanted to change the character to uppercase, if I want to change all the characters, then I again one inbuilt function, and I hope its name is also very obvious. That is str dot. It will be simply returning us, which is going to convert every single character into uppercase letter. So now this will be the answer which we got in return. All the inbuilt functions, all the major inbuilt functions are done here. But one thing that we can still do here is assuming that I wanted to print every single character of the string, just like we have printed the elements in the array. Here also I need to traverse. Here also I need to traverse. And again, without any doubt, we already aware that when traversing, we need to have a loop. Let me show you how to traverse. How to traverse print each character. Obviously, what I will do is I will simply use a for loop, which will be getting started from, because here as well we are talking about indexing. We already know that indexing starts from 0. So what I will do is I will start my indexing from 0. I mean I variable from 0, and we need to have a stopping condition because my last index is 5. So it will be obviously I less than equal to 5, and each time I want to increment the value by plus 1, so I will simply say I plus plus. Now this time I want to access each and every character again using the value I. So what I will do is, how do I access each and every character? Well, for that we have one inbuilt function which I have just mentioned in the previous slide. That means let me store that character in a variable C. How do I do that? Using str dot char at. Make sure to use this A capital and then mention the index here, which in this case will be I. Every time I am accessing a character, and along with accessing, I simply need to print it as well. So I will simply mention system.out. And it will simply done. And now if we are totally aware about the strings and its inbuilt functions and its functionalities as well, I would simply want to mention a homework question to you all. That means, let's suppose what we need to do is write a program to mention the name neatly mention a name. In this question, we will be given a string which can be something like, let's suppose I am talking about one name as Naman. Let's suppose it looks like this: N-A, capital M, capital N. We need to simply mention it properly. We need to simply change it so that it will look neat and clean. What exactly defines neat and clean? Well, it will be neat and clean only when all the letters are in lowercase except the first one. Please remember that. So in this case, your answer will be looks like this: Naman. Let's suppose I have another name, Ayush, Ayus. Here in this case as well, your correct answer will be Ayush. Initial letters could be small as well. Solve this problem by yourself and it might help you. It will definitely understand this string concept in a much better way. So I would say this would be enough for our today's session, with oops concepts in the next session. Thank you very much, each and everyone, for attending this class.